What do you enjoy about working with wood?
I like in that it's a natural material. I like that it's sustainable, that it's either something that I'm reusing something that was already milled, or it's something that I had milled.
And what are you working on now? It has a good story.
Yeah, so a couple things I'm working on. The tabletop here is from some birch that was logged across the road somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago that I've been just kind of storing and letting it dry. And some folks that I knew wanted a table built, so I suggested I've got some of this birch from the area. So I've got that project, and then I've got a dining table that I'm making out of walnut for some people from down by the Twin Cities that had a tree that they cut up on their property. And I recently finished up their cabin, so now I'm making a table and some furniture for them.
And having that mix is exciting, is terrifying. I mean, was it always like this, that I have these good projects all lined up and I can just stay in my shop and work?
Absolutely not. No, there's times I won't be in here for 6 or 8 months at a time because I'm doing carpentry work or some other work. It might not be my favorite, but it helps maybe have more of a stable income at times, because if I just worked in here, I've always thought about pushing myself to that and just say, well, we'll get by on whatever I can make, and maybe force myself to have a certain style or a certain kind of woodworking that I get really good at. I'm not at that point yet, and maybe I'm not brave enough. I don't know.
Earlier you mentioned kind of the percentages. I mean, woodworking and carpentry kind of are the basis, but tell me about the range of things that you do for a living.
Yeah, carpentry is 50-60% of my work, and it might be as little as putting a window in or building a small cabin. There's times I've had bigger projects come up, and I've passed them on to other contractors, and maybe I end up working for them, or I'm too busy with other stuff and they take it on. Then typically maybe 20% in my shop, and that can go up and down. Some years it might be 50%, and other years it's 10%. And that can be either kitchen cabinets, or I get some furniture commissions, or weird little projects that you would never dream of. And then as well as instructing at the North House, I do 12, 13 classes a year there, which is usually on the weekends, but as that school has grown, I'm doing more during the week, and I really enjoy that. I still don't fancy myself a teacher, but it's fun to have people to work with there, because they're really excited. Most of them are on vacation, and a lot of those people don't really work with their hands, so they're amazed at what they're learning to build.
So what advice would you give someone else, especially in the entrepreneur side? How do you make this work?
I would say to figure out what your end goal is. Do you want to have work be something that you enjoy to afford you to do the other things in life that you want to do, or if you want it to be your passion and that you're totally focused on what you're doing? Mine is, I think, a marriage of both.
One of my questions always is, have you experienced failure, and what does that look like, and what does that teach you?
Yeah, I've certainly had a lot of failure. If I'm not staying in the shop consistently, sometimes it's easy to, I'm just going to snowshoe this morning or go fishing, and then I'll get back to work. And sometimes because of that freedom, stuff gets pushed off, and then you end up being in more of a rush than you really should be, and then that mistakes start accumulating. So I've learned to slowly kind of walk away from things and say, give it 10 minutes. Or usually if things aren't going right, they're only going to get worse if you get frustrated. So I've learned from many of those mistakes.
That's the note above the door?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what does that say?
It says, don't forget where you are. And I was having a hissy fit one day, and then I kind of walked out. I might even thrown a piece of wood in the shop. And then I thought, take a deep breath, think about other things and the big picture. And then I wanted to write something down to remind myself that I get to walk to work many days just down my driveway. And it's a great spot, and I can really get away from things and do something that I enjoy doing. And not that many people get to say that.